Today is Monday, November 11th, and that means it's Veterans Day. In fact, for the past 105 years, we've been celebrating Veterans Day in the United States on November 11th. Woodrow Wilson was the first one to make it a federal holiday. It was meant originally to signify the end of World War I, but eventually has grown into celebrating all veterans from all wars. Today, though, we're in school, but that's not an excuse to forget about it. We still need to celebrate all of our veterans.
Veterans Day is basically to honor the sacrifice and the contributions of veterans. Memorial Days in the spring to honor those that have died fighting or serving in our military. Veterans Day is to thank everybody, whether or not they were in combat or not, for their service.
Veterans Day for me is a time to reflect. I was fortunate enough to have two people in my family who served. My grandpa served in World War II, and my dad served in Vietnam. And it was interesting for both of them to share their experiences and how different both of those were, but how it made both of them feel connected deeply to our country and proud for their service. So I'm also really proud to just have that heritage in my family.
To me personally, I have this flag up here that 30 years ago when I was a young teacher, a Korean War veteran had brought that when he spoke to my class on Veterans Day 30 years ago when I was at another school. I had a raggedy old flag up in my classroom. It was faded, it was small. He walked into my class unannounced the next day after speaking to my class, says, "You need a real flag." And he made a good point. I didn't have the same appreciation, I think, at that time for the flag and the raggedy old flags. Sometimes that are hanging in our rooms. So that's a genuine flag I've used ever since then. The next year I called him to speak, and he had already passed away. So it has some serious meaning for me in that respect.
What Veterans Day means to me is I actually think about the veterans in my life. Specifically, I have a few close friends that have some military experience, and when I start to think about them and my gratitude towards them, I think about some of the suffering that they deal with that I don't see. There's a lot of inside suffering and some mental health needs that come from serving. You see a lot of things when you serve, and they've only told me probably a small fraction of what they've had to deal with. And so when I think of Veterans Day and what it means to me or to reflect back on it, I think of not only thanking them for their service, but also the ongoing battles that they're dealing with, whether it's physical health things from serving in all kinds of different places and kind of the different factors of where you serve and the environment there, but also what you had to deal with when you were serving and when you're putting your life on the line or you're having others' lives in your hands when you serve. I think it just creates a lot of scar tissue that is tough to get through. And so whenever I think about that, I just get an overwhelming sense of gratitude for their sacrifice. And I just want to say thank you.
Personally, on my family level, I learned at an early age about my family's history. If you dug into your own family history, you'd probably see the same thing. You have someone in your family has served in some capacity in our country's military, if you dig deep enough. You know, my grandmother's 5 brothers all served in World War II. One of them was a POW, and we were lucky to get them all back. On my dad's side, there's 2 Vanatskys buried at Normandy, on the cemetery there in Normandy. So, you know, that has, again, personal reflection on my part for that, so it means something to me as well. But maybe you take your own time, ask your folks, ask your grandparents, your aunt and uncle, you know, maybe there's some history in your family that would make you and help you appreciate Veterans Day.
So even though we are in school today, it's important to remember all our veterans here in the United States.
One last tip, if you haven't had someone tell you this before, but if you ever encounter a veteran, it's really simple. Just walk up to them and say, "Thank you for your service." That's all they want to hear, and that's all you need to say.